Hello, everybody. I wanted to share today that Canada welcomes the CUSMA panel findings from the dispute settlement panel, where they reaffirmed our understanding, Canada's understanding, on the negotiated outcome for the rules of origin for automobile parts. We have a lot of work to do to implement this with Canada, United States, and Mexico. Canada, U.S., and Mexico, we've been making cars together. Our supply chains are deeply integrated. This is an important decision, and we're very pleased with the outcome of this dispute settlement panel for North America.
How do you think the U.S. is going to respond to it, Minister?
Well, we're going to look forward to working with the United States. That's what this dispute settlement process is all about. You'll remember that when we were renegotiating CUSMA, that the regional value content for automobile parts increased from 62% to 75%. This was all about being able to create and produce more automobile part contents in North America, and that's really good. And what this panel decision is about is the way in which the interpretation of how this was calculated. So we're pleased with the panel's finding because it is consistent with Canada's understanding, and we're going to work with the Americans. I think that the implementation is so important because this is an important sector, and the sector and the workers are depending on the predictability of these rules now as they are interpreted, and we'll work with both the Americans and
Can you explain why it's good for auto parts makers?
It's important because there's clarity in this decision on how the rules of origin for automobile parts are calculated. So when you have this is Canada's understanding of how we are calculating the rules of origin for these auto parts. So it's good for Canada because, and it's good for the sector because the sector now has a set of rules that is clear, and the three countries are going to work to make sure that we're implementing.
So if the American argument had prevailed, what was the sector telling you? What were car makers telling you about the impact of having the American argument win the day?
What the sector was telling us is that they wanted a set of rules that could be implemented so that they can have these auto parts at this value content in vehicles throughout North America. So I think about what we accomplished in the renegotiation of CUSMA and getting a dispute settlement process that actually got us to where we are today. And today's decision is a good decision for the industry.
Why is it a good decision for the industry?
Bottom line,
how is that going to protect investments in Canada?
Well, the decision today is about how to ensure that the auto parts that are being produced in our automobiles in North America meet the obligations of the trade agreement that we negotiated.
What does it mean for us? What does it mean for us?
It means that this is the understanding that Canada had all the way along. It's what we negotiated.
But were jobs at risk? And was there a risk of losing investment in Canada in our auto parts industry because we couldn't meet the 100% that the U.S. wanted?
Well, what we negotiated for was an increase in CUSMA from 62 to 75%. And the calculation of the rules of origin was what was at issue. Our understanding of how it is calculated is what is being reaffirmed here today, and what industry tells me all the time, including the industries who are here throughout the summit, North American businesses, that the thing that they're looking for is the rules, a predictability of the rules and certainty and clarity of the rules, and that's what today's panel decision provides.
Okay, great. Can you just, in more clear fashion, the stakes here, if Canada and Mexico had lost? Like, what is this really about as far as the cost of making cars in North America and the flexibility available to the supply chains here? I need you to articulate what the stakes were and why it was important to win this thing.
It's important because this is what we negotiated in the agreement. This is Canada's understanding, and when there is a difference of an understanding, then when automobile makers are looking to implement the agreement, then there isn't clarity, and without clarity, that is just not good for businesses on in all three of our countries. For us, we negotiated an agreement. We wanted to ensure that the agreement, as we understood the rules of origin, the way that we negotiated, was clarified, and that's what this decision has done. So the significance of this and the certainty of what the panel decision has come out with is one that allows us, Canada, United States, and Mexico, now to work together with industry to make sure that we implement the agreement the way that it was envisaged.
Is it going to prevent companies leaving Canada?
No, this was about ensuring that the agreement that we negotiated under CUSMA is...
So the ruling is good because then it follows the rules. So why were the rules good for Canada? What does it protect?
It protects the way in which the auto parts that go into the cars and the content that is calculated made in Canada, made in North America.
But it wasn't just a process fight. You weren't winning this just for the sake of process or for the sake of feeling smug that your legal interpretation was correct. You were winning this so that the supply chains could have more flexibility with where they get their parts, and so that the consumer ultimately could have a cost-competitive vehicle to sell to the world, right? Like, I just need you to articulate that.
That is essentially what Canada's understanding was when we negotiated the agreement, and therefore today's affirmation by the dispute settlement panel does exactly that. That allows us to meet the obligations of the 75% in a way that that you're right, provides the flexibility for automobile makers in Canada, in Mexico, and with the United States.
Minister, just quickly on the other trade dispute here over Mexico's nationalist energy policies, have you raised that with the Mexicans? What have you said to them about it?
Absolutely, we raised it. I had a good meeting with my counterpart in Secretary Barbastro. I made it very clear that Canadian investors in the energy sector need the predictability of the rules that are here to ensure that their investment for how we build renewable energy is protected. So we had a very productive discussion with my counterpart, and I'll leave the Prime Minister to, I don't want to preempt the Prime Minister in terms of what he'll be able to share about the overall summit, but I had a good meeting with my counterpart.
Just confirm how much investment was at risk with the nationalization of the energy? Is it $6 billion?
There's billions.
Billions.
Thank you very much.